Hi New Zealand, thank you very much for joining us. I'm Philip Duncan. Well, we've got this enormous area of low pressure over New Zealand at the moment. It is complicated and made up with a number of lows. As you can see, they're all kind of dancing around each other. So in simple, this area here in purple is basically all low pressure moving in a cyclonic fashion. So therefore, we've got a colder southerly on the way, about to move into New Zealand. This storm in the Southern Ocean, well away from us, but it is influencing our weather for the next few days with much colder wind flows coming from off the Antarctic ice shelf. And for some areas, it'll brush over us. But there's a fine line between that cold polar air and this big high out of Australia, with winds coming off the desert and also coming in as a sou'wester. So over the next few days, some areas will be warm and windy, others will be much colder with single-digit daytime highs on the way for some of you in the South Island. And you can see why here at lunchtime Tuesday. Low pressure all around this map here, but the southerly flow, this one down here, is coming out of Antarctica, straight off the ice shelf and right up to New Zealand. Now, it only just brushes by the southern part of New Zealand, but enough to really drop your temperatures over the next few days. In fact, Tuesday and Wednesday look cold. Queenstown's high on Wednesday, even with sunny skies, is only around 4 degrees, and many other places, 6s, 7s, maybe even Wellington only getting up to 9 on Tuesday or Wednesday as that colder airflow moves through. But it's not going to be overly wet. And the other positive we've got is while it's very, very cold just there, a couple of isobars over, and that's an airflow coming out of the Australian desert, so it's not as cold, even though the two are merging together, a little bit like hot water, cold water merging together. So we'll be seeing this colder flow blowing in. Wind chill for newborn livestock over the next couple of days will be pretty tough, some places well below zero at times. Then we get to Wednesday and it's still very cold around the South Island. That southerly flow kind of locked in for you in the morning and for some areas through the day. The southerly coming into Wellington and the lower part of the North Island and eastern areas. But over to the west, you'll notice as the day wears on, slightly warmer airflow coming in, maybe not even till night time, but it is on the way. So Tuesday and Wednesday, temperatures drop in most places, especially in the South Island. Then we get to Thursday, and now that warmer Australian airflow is on its way in. So the temperatures lift up on Thursday nationwide. It's mostly dry as well. As the week wears on, things do start to dry up. By Friday, though, the rain clouds return to the west coast, just a couple of showers for the North Island's western side, and it will be warmer because of that wind coming in from the west to northwest. Most places end the week on a fairly mild note, and then we head into the weekend and it goes downhill again. We've got a cold front moving through by the looks of it on Saturday, followed by southerlies and sou'westers. So a little bit unsettled later in the week, but overall this week does calm down, and with this big area of low pressure over us right now, by the time we come into this next weekend, we've got a big high, so the opposite is coming through, which means things will start to settle down. The final thing before I go, pine pollen is back. You may not have noticed it over the weekend, depending on where you live. Northern New Zealand most exposed to it. That's a sign spring is basically knocking on our door. So once you start getting pine pollen, you start to get the red eyes, the sneezes, the allergies as well. So welcome to spring. It's kind of right here, right now, but we've just got this polar snap to get through. And by the way, one last thing, I just said that, but the second last thing, after this high, more warm westerlies. So we may be passing some of the coldest weather now of the season. We'll be locking that in the next few days for you. That's all from me. We'll be back again on Tuesday.